I'm not going to say who I've reached out to and said no. There's a few. Yeah. I feel rejected.
They know who they are.
Yeah, you know who you are.
Hi, I'm Hannah from NME, and today I'm with Tove Lo for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? How's London treating you?
Very well, as always. It's nice and warm for once.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We're here in the heat wave. Yeah. And we are here to talk about your fifth album, Dirt Femme. Mm-hmm. I want to start with the name. How did you kind of come up with that?
It kind of is how I would say, like, I identify in my femininity, I guess. The working title of the album was just Feminine, and because I think a lot of the songs kind of play into my relationship with my femininity, like how it's helped me and hurt me, and how I used to not really feel maybe as proud of my feminine traits as I do now, and I think that had to do a lot with having to sort of enhance my masculine traits while getting ahead in this industry at the time when it was very sort of, I mean, maybe it still is, but I think it's changed a lot. But it was very male dominated and very sort of, you had to be in the boys club to you know, if you had to be a boys girl and be the kind of like, oh, you can hang with the guys, like you're cool, like you can deal with this shit kind of thing. And I think, so I would kind of see my feminine traits as weaknesses instead of strengths, and that's really changed over the years. And so I don't know, there's a roughness to me, I guess, in ways that I also embrace. So yeah, there you go. It's Dirt Femme. It makes sense in my mind, you know, but
yeah, of course. Is there a specific moment where you were like, this, you know, I don't want to have to play into these masculine traits, I only want to do it if it's what I want to do? I
think at the time, I don't think I realized that I was doing it maybe as much. I think I just kind of thought of it as like, they're all sides of me. And I'm not saying like, oh, masculine traits are bad. I just say, like, with everything, it's like it can become toxic and then quite destructive, I think. I just saw it as like, these sides of me aren't as strong as these sides. And I think now I view it differently in a way. And so I think maybe naturally from I think honestly a lot of it had to do with also all the change that happened with the Me Too movement. Like, I know, like, we have a long way to go still, and like people talk a lot about, you know, the collateral damage and all that, but I just from a personal point of view, I think it's done so much good. And like I feel like when I even just moving around in the industry and going to, like, I don't know, when I have to sort of interact with the suits, you know, which I don't really do much anymore because of my independent label, or my own label. But I feel like there's a new attitude. Like, you know, it's more respectful and careful. And who knows if that has to do with like, oh, I know I can't behave this way anymore, but at least there's a change in behavior and in some ways. And I think I like to see that. Yeah.
Do you ever feel pushed to maybe make music that sounds a certain way, dress a certain way when you were first emerging?
If I did back then?
Yeah.
No, well, what I think was, I was definitely, you know, encouraged, but I think because when I put out Habits Stay High, which is, you know, like the song that changed my life and still like one of my biggest songs, I put that out without a label first. I had made the video already, like it was already, my expression was already there. And I think, so when I signed, it was, you know, kind of like I was acknowledged for already having put my artistic self in this zone that I want to be in. But as it grew, obviously there was like, okay, for you to now really be a commercial successful pop star, we needed to move in this direction, and I went the opposite direction. But even though there was, you know, disagreements, there was never well, we're not going to put out or support this record. I was always sort of like, we don't get it, but, you know, it's you do it kind of thing. But sometimes I think I question myself, like, am I doing this just to, like, I kind of was like confused of what my goals were for a second, because you could also get caught up in the, like, you want the song to do as well as possible, you want to play the game and be as successful as you can be. But I think I always come back to that. If it doesn't feel right for me, if it doesn't feel right in my gut, I cannot go with it. I would like go really far trying to push myself. Like no, it's everyone's saying it's a good idea. Everyone's saying it's a good idea. Like you should do this song. You should like do a video like this. And then at the very last minute, I'm like I can't do it. Like I just pull out. And so I think now I just listen to my gut as much as I can always.
And you mentioned there your own label, which is so exciting. Yeah. I guess this is all stuff you kind of try and put into the ethos of your own label and things like that. How has it been being the boss?
Well, I love having the last word on everything. But I think also like it's important to me that I also like I'm a collaborator. Like, you know, I have a great team around me that I try to really listen to, and like I want to sort of be. I don't think that I know everything. Like I think that's important when you start your label and you're like, you know. So that is good to have like people I trust where I can be like, am I completely off here? Like, am I going? You know, am I really? And I'm not talking about the creative, because there I feel very like, this is what it's supposed to be, you know. Yeah. But kind of sort of just everything else. I mean, there's just so much to it. But I love it. I'm so happy I went this route. Yeah, it's a lot of work and it's kind of terrifying at times, but I love it.
So let's get into the album.
Yes.
When did the process begin? How long have you been working on it?
Well, the first song I wrote was No One Dies From Love, and I wrote that actually before the pandemic, January 2020. I was in Malibu with my like main producer and writer Ludwig Söderberg, who I've done so many of my songs with. And we had 3 weeks together and we were going to write, you know, usually by then, after 3 weeks, you have like 6 or 7 songs that you're proud of. But we only worked on this, and we were just like both going through it in our lives, and we're just drinking and crying and talking and writing, and the only thing that came out of it was this song. And I remember I was like, I can't wait to put it out before the summer festivals this year. Like, you know, I was so ready to, and then obviously pause. And so I felt like that was still like waiting 2 years was so hard, but I was like, I need this to be like come out when I can go see people and play it for them. And so I'm very happy that I waited. And while for the rest of 2020 I didn't write a single thing, I was not inspired like at all. But once I started doing acting classes for this movie that I did at the end of 2020, and I shot it in like September to November in Sweden. It was like kind of method acting, but mainly just like digging through your past to find traumatizing memories that I could use in this role as a starving prostitute from the 1850s in Sweden, which was my character in the movie. And when I was doing that, like I feel like it was just being in one place for that long, and then doing that kind of sort of some kind of therapy work, and then going and shooting the movie and being so out of my comfort zone, like a completely new world. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have anyone like with me, you know, and it was very new to me. Coming back from that, I had so much inspiration. Yeah. And so all of 2021 I was just writing constantly, and I think put the album together during that year. I think that's why it's so like dramatic and cinematic and emotional and vulnerable. It just like made me think of everything, like who was I growing up, like who am I now as a woman, who am I as like a queer woman but a married woman, and like all those kind of feelings coming through me. So yeah, and it all went into Dirt Femme.
Was there anything you did or like actively did differently this time around? Pretty
much it's just me and one other person on like most of the songs, and I think that's quite rare for me to be the like I've always tried to sort of like bring in other people to write lyrics and melodies with me, but I mean I'm usually pretty strong-minded, so I don't know, but this time I really was working just with another, like one more person in the room, just the two of us for a lot of the songs. That was kind of new, and also I went and wrote a lot of it in like my old childhood home. That was definitely very new for me, because usually I try to escape where where my memories and my reality is to write, and that was quite new. And like a lot of it also like me in my bedroom, and I think that kind of, maybe that's why it feels to me a little bit like when I released my first record, it's like I wasn't feeling like an artist at the time, you know. I wasn't feeling like, I wasn't performing, I wasn't doing interviews, I wasn't doing all the stuff that makes me sort of a pop artist, you know. And I think when I wrote my first album, that's how I felt. I was just a, you know, girl, woman writing in my room, and it kind of felt like back to that again. That's quite different for the last 3 albums. Wait, which album is it? The 5th album? Yeah. So the last 3 before this one, I was, you know, writing while on the road, while doing everything, while being an artist, like being a pop star, whatever.
Yeah. I guess people always talk about being inspired by the road as well, and it's been strange kind of not having that thing of writing there.
I mean, so weird. It was, it really took me doing something completely different and being challenged in the way that you kind of are on the road to be able to write again, but I still felt like the inspiration was coming from somewhere else than usual.
So the acting, which is amazing. Are you going to do more? Is it something you now want to bring into the music videos, things like that?
I feel like I kind of, I mean, I've done a few short films, so I feel like that passion for that, and that's kind of how I got the role to begin with. Like, the director has seen some of my short films and he was like, there's something there, but I needed so much work to like, I'm not really naturally good at things. I need to like really practice and work hard at them. So it was the same with this. Like, I did so many like acting classes, but then like something clicked and I got it. But it's not my number one calling. Like, music is still number one. And I think if there ever was an opportunity to do a role like that again, or to be part of a project like that again, I would definitely do it. I'm not gonna run around Hollywood on auditions though, probably. And it's also like, you know, timing wise, it's like it's like 2-3 months out of your life you need to focus on this, and that's hard for me as a touring artist.
So let's dig into some of the specific songs. I want to start with the First Aid Kit collaboration.
Yes.
How did that all come about? It feels slightly different vibe to the rest of the album, but also still fits.
I think because it feels like such a kind of turn on the record, I wanted to lean into that. And like, I've been a fan of them since forever. I know them personally, and I think I was just like, who do I hear on this song? Like, I feel like it would be good to add someone else's flavor on this, and also since they write so much themselves, I wasn't sure that they would be down to sing this with me. Like, but they were, and what they added is just like, I made the song, so I'm just very, very happy that it worked out, and I can't wait to play it live with them. I think that's going to be beautiful, singing the harmonies together and stuff.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And you also worked with S.G. Lewis and Channel Tres and other songs. How do you go about approaching people with collaborations? Is it like you're in the studio, or a DM slide, or?
I think it's both. SG, we were just planning on working together and kind of see what would happen. And now he's like one of my really good friends. We're just so similar and get along super well. And we just, writing together, it just clicks. It's just like, it's so fun. And I think we did 2, so he's on 2 songs. And just because I'm like, when we had more, then I'm like, should we just put all of them on one album and put out our own thing? Which, I don't know, that might happen just because, you know, when we write together, it's kind of quick and just very sort of, that was just from like, let's try a session out from like our connections connecting. But then that ended up being like a really good friendship and a great collaboration. So yeah, that's kind of like the dream when it works out that way. And then Channel Tres I tried to get a hold of for like months, and I almost moved on because I didn't hear back. I was like, and I'd met him a couple of times. I'm like, big fan. And then he, like, I was like DMing on Instagram, writing his team, and like no one got back to me. And I was like, I guess I'm just gonna have to just like, he just doesn't want to do it. And then like right as I was about to like try and reach out to someone else for the song, his team reached out and like, oh, love it, he's down, he's gonna get in the studio tomorrow. And I was like, thank God. Yeah, and he killed it. It sounds so good.
Is there anyone who you tried to get on and maybe timings didn't quite work out?
I mean, so many. Like, that constantly happens, you know. And like, it's the same, I get asked a lot of times to do, especially a lot of like dance music features, and even if I love the song, sometimes like the timing just isn't right now. It has a lot to do with that. But sometimes also the answer you say when you don't want to say no because you like the artist, but maybe it's not the right song, but you don't want to be like, but I try to be honest and be like, this is not my type of song. I think that like, that's totally acceptable. I'm not going to say who I've reached out to and said no. There's a few. Yeah. I feel rejected.
They know who they are.
Yeah, you know who you are. Okay.
Someone asked about a couple of the songs specifically. Suburbia, which I think is a song a lot of young women will probably relate to. The idea of, you know, not necessarily wanting to do things quote unquote for a traditional way.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment that inspired that, or is it kind of just a lifetime of experiences?
Yeah, I think honestly getting married and then all of a sudden having so many of the people in my life who maybe are slightly more traditional be like relieved and like, oh, you did something normal, and then like, when are you having kids, and then having to defend not knowing if I want kids is like a constant. And I can kind of understand, I totally understand, like a lot of my friends now have small kids or are about to have kids, and they take it very personal if I say I don't want children. Not all of them, but some really get like, how dare you say that? Like I said, I don't want your kids or something. I don't really, I guess it's because it's such an intense thing to go through, and it's so, this is based on me observing, not knowing obviously, but like it's such an intense thing to go through, and it's so special and so much love, and it's so beautiful that like someone saying that they don't want it, it is personally like offensive. But I guess I just wish we could maybe get to a place where all choices are accepted, you know. And I think also as a woman, I think people find it like you have to always make an argument or a statement for why you don't, and I think that's I just don't think that's necessary, I guess. Yeah.
And another song I wanted to ask about was Grapefruit, which is really, really personal.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to write, and why did you think now was the right time to write it?
It's honestly a song I've like tried to write for maybe like 10 years or something. I guess being healthy for so long, I think I had to be far away from it enough to be able to write it, maybe. And like, cause I struggle with like just body and food issues from I was 15 to maybe like 19, 20. So I'm just, first of all, I feel so lucky that my artist career took off after I'd been well for a very long time, because of the, you know, scanning and criticism you get, and to be honest, it was also part of me working on this film, because I was asked to lose some weight because I was playing, you know, a starving person. But it wasn't a lot of weight, but it was in a very short period of time. I had to like just lose a lot in a very short period of time, and it was like the first time in like 10 years that I went on a diet, because again, after being healthy, and I think it was triggering in a way. Like it didn't trigger me in the way that I fell back into old behavior, but it was just all these memories started coming at me, like counting calories, or they having anxiety if I like, fuck, wait, I shouldn't have eaten that, I forgot, no, and you kind of like this constant like thing of keeping track of yourself, and that just, this sea of memories of like that time just came over me and was so intense that I was just like, I need to get this out. And I was writing this song with my roommate, and he was making this like beautiful dancey beat, you know, and this word just kind of came out, and he's not a really lyric person, so I could tell he was a bit like, he's like, yeah, and like, wait, what grapefruit, what are you, and then he just kind of like, wait, what's happening? He could barely like ask the question, like, is this happening to you right now? Are you going through right now? And I was like, no, and I had to kind of just like tell him. He's like, oh, I never would have known. And I was like, that kind of makes me feel good that you didn't, you know, we lived together. You could have picked up on a lot of behaviors if you know. Yeah. But he wasn't, he was just one of, that sounds so awful, and I'm happy that you're okay. And he's like, I think the contrast of this song is kind of beautiful, that it's this like dancey, hopeful kind of tone in the music, and then the lyrics are obviously very sort of heavy. And I think for me personally, I've never liked to listen to songs that make me feel like I'm not feeling the way I'm supposed to feel. Like, I like to listen to songs that are about like loving yourself when I'm loving myself, when I'm feeling myself, and and feeling good. But I remember at the time those songs would only frustrate me because also there wasn't many at that age that were very body positive. But I just remember not, like I was just feeling like, oh, I'm not like achieving this, like I'm not feeling how I'm supposed to feel. Like I that's another failure, you know. They're telling me I should love myself and I hate myself. Like that's so that makes me feel worse, kind of thing. So I would rather like to listen to songs that were songs that, okay, this person feels how I feel. And so I think that's why I wrote the lyrics that way, because it just like, this is what I was going through and this is how it felt, and that was kind of that.
Is it hard to listen to the song back, or is it something of like a catharsis and you can be proud of yourself when you listen to it back?
I feel proud of myself when I listen to it back. I think that's kind of the thing. I have enough distance from it to be able to like talk about it without feeling anxious or getting sad. Like I feel far enough past it that it's like I can mainly feel good about where I am now, you know. And I also think like, because when I started getting better, I worked so hard to recover and on like loving my body and having a good relationship with food. I feel like it's almost better than it would have been if I didn't do that, you know, if I didn't go through that. I think that also like has taken a big role in my artistry, that I'm like, you know, I show off my body on stage, which is like, you know, a victory for me every time, because I used to hate it so much. And like I, you know, make sure, I always ask like people not to retouch my body in photos, like, you know, leave everything as is, kind of thing. And I just think that's I'm not really doing that to like, I need to be a good role model. It's like, it's for me, it's my own like, and hopefully that will, you know, inspire or help some people, but it's mainly just so that I can just be comfortable with me.
That's amazing. And I think there are so many fans who do see you as kind of such positive.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope so.
Thing. I was going to ask about the Lollapalooza viral TikTok moment, the flashing moment. I mean, what were people reacting to you when that happened?
I mean, it's just like, whenever I'm anywhere but maybe America, people always like flash me back, and it's like a moment, like all these people get on other people's shoulders and they're like flashing me back. Sometimes they write things on their chest, and it's like it's such a fun moment like that. And then there's always going to be, you know, people who disagree with it. That's just how it is. But it's just a really fun part of the show, you know. It's like it's become this moment that just now is a part of it, and everyone's like looking forward to it.
Well, it feels very joyful and positive as opposed
it's super fun. And like I think just to me it's still funny that like it still carries, like if people still get shocked, you know. It's like, or the shocked and happy, you know. No, it feels really it's just like brings the energy up right away. It's really, it's a moment. I recommend it.
Amazing. And I want to ask about To Die For, sampling the iconic Popcorn. How did you kind of go about working? Did you start with sample, or was it writing the song and you're like, you know what would fit?
It was actually that way. So I guess I was working with this another one of the Swedes, Oscar Gurres, who I've written a lot with in the past, known for years, and we were talking about kind of making something more in like a trance 90s kind of trance world, or like, and he started kind of those synths like and I don't know how, but I guess that song just popped into my mind, which, you know, I think of it as hot butter popcorn. A lot of people think of it as Crazy Frog, obviously. But which is like, Crazy Frog was obviously more part of the time that we were like starting out with in terms of like sound. But then I just started singing the melody on top of the chords, and I was like, wait, this works really well. We have to do this. And he's like, let's just try, and then we will see if we can even like clear it, you know? And we kind of looked like, are there any remixes like in this world? Like, not really. No one's, as far as we could find, like have sung the melody. And that was honestly the biggest challenge, like putting lyrics that had a message or like at least a feeling to fit with that crazy melody. It's really hard. But it worked. And then we wrote it, and it felt really fucking good. Like day one, we're like, this is really good. And sent it to our publisher, and he's like, this is amazing. I'm gonna do my best, And you just kind of reach out and like, hey, are you cool with us using the song this way? And you just hope that it gets approved. Yeah. And they approved it. So, yeah.
So
it's my first time ever like sampling or doing anything like that, and I'm happy it's this one.
I wanted to ask about How Long featuring in Euphoria. How did that happen? When did you get the call when they were like, we want to use one of your songs?
So when I saw the first season, like I was floored. I was like, this show is made for me. I need to have a song in this show. And I wrote a letter to the director, and obviously like, through connections, and just sent a few songs that I thought would fit. And I did not know that there was 2 triangle dramas going on that the song would just like, portray perfectly. But I just said like, I'm a huge fan of the show. I love how the way it's shot, the visual story, the rawness of it. Like I just think it's amazing. It would be super honored if you put one of my songs in the show. Here's some options. And I sent maybe 3 or 4 songs, I think. And then they reached out way later, just like, yeah, we want to use How Long for this for part of the show. And I was just like, what? It happened? Because everyone and their mother is trying to get a song on that show. Yeah. So I was just very, very honored to be one of them. Yeah.
What was it like watching it, I guess, when it like aired on TV and you're like,
well, it's me. We did a full watch party, and like it's a very small part of the song that's in the show. So it was kind of like, but there was, let's rewind, and we like kind of kept rewinding because it was like literally for like 2 seconds of a pan at a party, but it still counts.
Yeah. Amazing. And I wanted to ask as well about executive producing the Pussy Riot mixtape.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? How do you know them? So
I know Nadia, and I know Dave Davis from Neon Gold, who she works with, and we actually met like on a call like Clubhouse when I did an NFT collaboration with Blake Catherine, an amazing artist, and I did like music to her NFTs, so that her designs that were like inspired by me. Yeah. So which was like a super fun, like, so I like, it was my own produced stuff, which felt really like special and unique for me to get to do that as well. And I met Nadia on we did like a call about just kind of like NFT art and collaborations between digital artists and musicians and that kind of stuff, and Nadia was on that call, and we were just talking, and then kind of DM'd each other on Instagram, and she came over to my house, and we had like dinner and wrote some music again with Tim, my roommate, who has done a lot of the music on this album too. And she told us a bit of her life story, which is absolutely wild. And I was just like, you're a very impressive human, and I want to be a part of what you're doing in like your journey. And so I just kind of, as much as I've been able to, just been giving feedback, helping out with lyrics, writing a couple songs with her, and just kind of I feel like for her too, it's like she's a whole movement. She's not like just a pop artist. She's like built this world and is doing a lot of great things, using her platform for a lot of great things in a way that I've not really seen a lot of artists do. So I'm just very impressed with her. Yeah. Honored to be a part of it.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, perfect place to leave it, I think. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.